Scott Walker, according to a self-described conservative commentator writing in Slate, is the perfect candidate on paper. But as you know, elections aren't won on paper. It's been interesting to track the media treatment of Scott Walker, who jumped into the race on Monday night. Pretty good speech, no notes, no teleprompter. He's obviously got it memorized. At the same time, it didn't generate a lot of excitement. Unfortunately for the Wisconsin governor, early the next morning, President Obama announces a nuclear deal with Iran. Media go crazy. Of course, very important story. And Walker's news cycle kind of gets prematurely shortened. There was a time a few months ago when Walker, wasn't really well known to the rest of the country, shot up to the top of the Republican polls. Everybody said he was the hot candidate. Seems to be a candidate who a lot of people say they could vote for. It could be a second choice. But then he made what at least a lot of pundits perceive as a series of stumbles. He got into a fight with the press over so-called gotcha questions. He gave a couple of answers on foreign policy related matters that seem like perhaps he wasn't quite ready for prime time. I mean, all of this is preseason stuff that the voters won't remember 6 months from now. But around the time of his launch, I was really struck by a number of pieces that were written, not just by liberals, but mainstream media and some on the right, saying that Walker had lost his momentum, that he was trying to figure out what his candidacy was about, that he had to demonstrate that he had the smarts to be president. Now, especially a piece in the New York Times, a little snarky, saying, well, everybody thinks he's authentic because he's a real blue-collar guy, and that's part of his appeal. But does he have the sophistication and the smarts to be president, asks the New York Times, with a little dig about how Walker didn't graduate from college and how he is sitting down with lots of policy experts to bone up on not just foreign policy, but domestic policy. Guess what? They all do that, especially governors who haven't had a chance to serve in Washington or deal with major national and national security type issues. So, it seems to me that Walker is, I've sat down with him. He is a very disciplined candidate. He is a very cautious candidate. But he also is a candidate who is very conservative. Has he changed some positions? Absolutely. He admitted this to Chris Wallace, saying that he had shifted his position on immigration to become tougher. There are a couple other examples of that. Of course, when you have now 15 candidates, and maybe that's part of the reason it didn't exactly set off shockwaves. A, Walker has obviously been running for some time, and B, he's the 15th GOP candidate to get into the race. You literally need a scorecard at this point. But ultimately, it's going to be the last person standing. So Donald Trump getting all the attention, Jeb Bush and Marco Rubio still getting a lot of attention. Walker had kind of slipped off the media radar. Now the question is whether he can get back in, whether he can move back up in the polls. He's running anywhere from 3rd to 6th in some polls that I have seen. How will he do in the debates? Will he be overshadowed by Donald Trump? Will everybody be overshadowed by Donald Trump? So the jury is out on Scott Walker, but the media consensus is clear that he lost his momentum. Whether that's fair or not, that's what the pundits are saying, and he's got to find a way to get it back.